All right, so quick introduction. I'm Sridhar, I'm from DreamFactory, and what we do is we create an open source REST API platform that can restify your data sources. So what do I mean by data sources? It could be pretty much anything. It could be a SQL database like Oracle, SQL Server, DB2, whatever, or NoSQL databases like Mongo or Cassandra or Couch, whatever, or SOAP services, email services, file services. We have a LAMP stack that can pretty much get installed anywhere, as you would expect. We have also Dockerized this. You can pretty much put it anywhere, connected to whatever data sources, and we automatically create REST APIs out of these things. So every table, every stored procedure, function, whatever views that you might have, or all your folders, collection, anything that you might have are instantly restified. So you as a developer, you don't have to really worry about creating the basic API infrastructure. We take care of that for you. You can just focus on building the business logic on top of that. Those automatically generated REST APIs, we also provide scripting facilities, so you can customize these APIs to add business logic or extend them. So if I access Oracle, it turns around and access SOAP services or something like that, come back with a more consolidated response. You can do all of that stuff, as well as security stuff. We integrate with user stores like AD, LDAP, SAML services, so you don't have to work too much to bring in your users to authenticate them into those APIs. You can do them through DreamFactory. So just wanted to quickly show you how that worked there. Let's actually get out of this PowerPoint and see how this works. So switch over to my browser screen. Hopefully you guys can see that a little bit better. Okay, so here I have, let's jump in directly into the product here. This is DreamFactory platform. This is actually installed on using Bitnami on my Amazon server. And what you're seeing here is a one-page web app that is written on top of DreamFactory's REST API. So everything that you're going to be seeing today can be done programmatically as well. And I'm going to start off with services. Services are nothing but your data source, right? Could be pretty much anything there, MySQL, Mongo, Oracle, Oracle Fusion CRM, so if there's any REST APIs, we can proxy them through DreamFactory as well, right? And setup is pretty simple. Let's go into Oracle here to see how this is all working. If you go into config, all you need to really tell it is where Oracle resides. What's your host, your port, what database you're interested in, username, password, what schema you're interested in, and such. And what that does is it introspects the database to figure out what you have out there, what tables, stored procedures, functions, things like that, and then generates an API out of it. And this can be done for pretty much anything. You can have done this here for Fusion REST API as well. So the CRM APIs that they have, you provide where they reside, and we can then proxy their APIs as well. So let's actually see what happens when you make that connection. So I just connected to Oracle, and when that connection happens, we created those REST APIs and then created documentation for this. So when you are exposing these APIs, your developers who want to integrate with you can try these things out, and these are very full-featured APIs themselves. If I go into Oracle, we have swaggerized these things. It can do metadata operations, create tables, update tables, delete tables and such. Most DBS take care of these things for themselves. They are more interested in the data operations, so let's go down there. So same deal, you can go figure out what tables you have, delete records, read records, update records, create records and such. Right? And again, this is all virtualizing that Oracle database, and let's quickly look at this, right? So if you look at the structure here, there's something interesting. We have wildcarded all these tables. So irrespective of whether you have 5 tables or 500 or 5,000 tables, it doesn't really matter. We create a unique endpoint to every one of these things, as well as show you, what resource we are accessing, and what's the service name. So what's cool about that is some of our customers have done something interesting here. So they have started development with, say, something cheap like MySQL or something like that, and then finished the development using DreamFactory as the virtualization layer, and then when they go to production, they have swapped the backend with something a little bit more interesting, Oracle, or you could even go to a NoSQL database like Mongo. Because DreamFactory virtualizes your data storage, or in this case data source there, it doesn't really matter. We will convert your incoming calls into Oracle or SQL Server or Mongo or pretty much anything. Right? And this is done for stored procedures and functions as well. Right? So let's actually try one of these things out. So I can go make calls here. So go figure out what databases I have or what tables I have. Get me a list of tables, and it does a real-time call, comes back with a quick set of tables that I have, and I can copy something out and actually get data for these things now. So read some data there, and we support anything that you would expect out of a SQL call there. We support all the major SQL operations, getting a list of fields or specifying which fields you need. We automatically understand foreign key constraints. You could not just understand foreign key constraints there, you could actually create these constraints away from your schema. So some of our customers cannot have a whole bunch of legacy schema that they cannot touch. This gives you a way of extending their schema to construct those foreign key constraints or even logical relationships. You could connect Oracle table in one database to a completely different table in a completely different database. So cross database or even cross database type Oracle to Mongo or something like that as well. So it's a great way of making a call to one database and getting everything related to it, whether it's in the same database or completely different one. Right? So I can say, get me related databases there, put filters that you would want, limits that you would need, and you could also do offsets and things like that for pagination. So you can get blocks of data to work with. So when I make that call, you can see that, so it's making that call real time here and comes back with data from my Oracle database, including the contact data and all the relationships in one shot. Right? I didn't have to do anything much there, and if I have to reuse this from my mobile app or web app or however, all I need is that string there and my authentication. Boom, I now can use that data, JSON, XML, or in some cases there, CSV as well. Right? So because we do this data virtualization there, we can do this for REST APIs as well. So let me go to the Fusion CRM APIs that I talked about. Back to service list and Oracle Fusion CRMs, we can go pull information from that as well. These are SaaS APIs that Oracle exposes, and the reason why this becomes interesting, there we go. The reason why this becomes interesting is because we provision these things as services, you can now create composite APIs. You can orchestrate these APIs. So think of a scenario, right? I am a sales guy. The first thing I do in the morning is I come in, figure out my opportunities, what's out there and what's closed, what not. Then I need to go figure out what has been delivered or not. So I can go talk to my customers to let them know, set some expectations. Hey, it's coming in a week, or this has been delivered. How are you doing with that? Are you happy, not happy, that kind of stuff. Right? So to do that in a traditional application, what you would do is you would make, you would open up multiple API calls. Right? So you would make one call to Fusion CRM there to figure out your opportunities, and you can do that right here. So let me go pull some data out of Oracle. So let's pull some opportunities, enrollments, a whole bunch of stuff that Oracle opens up. So let's go get some opportunities here. Grab me only data and get me a limit of 5 APIs and Oracle goes and pulls that information. Now with this information, I can now grab that information, correlate that with Oracle to figure out my delivery status, and then I would combine that, display that to my sales guy. So it's very simple to data source usage. However, to do that, I got to make two distinct calls, and imagine in a real world scenario, you're combining information from 5, 10, 15, whatever kind of data sources. Where DreamFactory comes into play is you could do the exact same deal via scripting within DreamFactory. So you're still making those calls to the appropriate data sources, but then you're exposing one single endpoint which your developer can make. So instead of doing multiple round trips to your data sources, they make one round trip to the DreamFactory. DreamFactory then sprays it to get the appropriate data, right? So you can get that kind of course. Oracle is playing. Thinking about it now. This is actually going out to the Oracle database and coming back. Oracle SaaS APIs and coming back with data, and given the test setup here. You know it's a live demo when things fail, right? So you can get the idea there that it can go do a whole bunch of different things. And these APIs, you can download all of the service documentation. So if you need to give somebody the Swagger documents, things like that, so they can then pull it up and run with it, they can absolutely do that, right? Now, so what we've talked about thus far is data source virtualization and the documentation for these things. But those are just the standard plain vanilla REST endpoints. You could extend these endpoints in multiple ways. One of the ways is using scripting. So scripting essentially works, think of it like database triggers, yeah? So before I go read some information, or before I go input some information into a table, go do X. Could be data validation, or go do some password checking, permissions checking, that kind of thing. Or on a read, before you return the information back to the caller, call out to a SOAP service or to the REST API, combine multiple things, and then bring it back. You can implement all of that stuff within DreamFactory. So all your user needs to know is call this one endpoint, it will go figure all that stuff out and bring it back to you, right? And where the power comes in is, obviously you might have some database triggers, whatnot. This is at a data source level. So it doesn't really matter what database you have or what data source you have. You can do this for SOAP services, Oracle databases, or email services, whatever. Right? And just to kind of give you an example there, you could do this for an Oracle on a post there, or a pre-process or a post-process basis there. And all of these are written in via JavaScript, Python, PHP, or Node.js. So languages that you are familiar with, you could write these scripts and take them forward to the next level. Right? The other way of doing this, so this automatically happens if you put the scripts there on a every single time basis. So when I call this a particular Oracle table there, go do X, Y, Z as I've defined in the script. But let's say in some cases you don't want to do that. Some cases you want to do that, some cases you don't. So what we have kind of done is brought up a different kind of service as well. So this is the Composite Service, where you can create a service, in essence, introduce an endpoint, which can do the exact same deal, the exact same orchestration using the same scripting. So right here, I have a fetch order status written in PHP, which does exactly that. It goes, reads data from my Oracle CRM, gets my list of opportunities. If you guys can read that, let me switch that over to a slightly bigger font. Okay. So what this code does is pretty simple code there that makes that call out to a Oracle endpoint, gets my list of opportunities, and then with those list of opportunities, it combines that opportunity information with Oracle, where I'm storing the delivery status information, combining that information, and then returning back a completed result. So it's pretty simple information, but you kind of get the idea there, what you can do with it. And that's what this does, introduces a brand new endpoint to do exactly that. Imagine doing this for 5, 10, 15 kind of data sources all on one side. So your user, it's all about the user of your APIs. They, instead of calling 15 different endpoints on your side, they call one endpoint. We take care of all the orchestration part. Right? Just to show you how all that stuff works, I have the same information in Postman. So I'm making the same call directly over to my DreamFactory server, the same contact information, and can you guys see that all? Okay, let's see, that might be a little bit easier to see. So the first thing that it does is it actually comes in and complains about authentication. So it says, hey, you're not authenticated. I'll do the easiest way of authentication. I'll do a basic auth. So we can tie in authentication here as well. So I can decide who gets access to what APIs. Now it makes the exact same query that we did before through Postman, and then returns back the information that I had before, a list of contact information using with relationships and such, right? And coming back to my demo here, so we've talked about how to generate REST APIs for various data sources, how to document these things, how to extend them. By the way, you can also edit the schema right here, just in case you need to do it. For the most part, what we find with our customers is they manage all the schema editing themselves using their favorite tools there. But just in case you need to do that, add a quick alias there because you have some legacy information in there that you need to not expose the names of it, or it's pretty complex there and you want to kind of keep it very targeted. You can do that right here at both the table level or at a field level, right? And this is also the place where you can define your logical relationships, cross database, cross data source kind of relationships. And securing all of these using roles. So a robust role-based access control to define who gets access to what. And this can kind of drill down into any level that you need. For Oracle table there, one particular table, given that this is a marketing role, I want to give only read and update access there. I don't need to give any create access or delete access. So great ways of locking down who can do what, as well as what kind of, how do I want to expose these APIs? Do I want to expose it to everybody out there, or do I want to open up a script and only the script gets access to this table? So if there's any confidential information like a permissions table or something like that, maybe I don't want to open up an API endpoint to it. You want to narrow it down and say only a DreamFactory written script needs to get access to it. Right? And that's all from a metadata perspective. We also have ways of locking it down from a data perspective in case you want to do any sort of horizontal partitioning. We can lock it down and say the incoming user needs to own the particular record there, only then they get access to it. Or other where clauses that you might want to force on the user, you could do all of that stuff within DreamFactory as well. So a great way of locking down who gets access to what parts of your database or what parts of your table through DreamFactory. Right? Just to kind of complete the call that I started out here. So I was reading data, wanted to combine this information to just finish the scenario that I started talking about there. My sales guy gets a list of opportunities. Let's see if that Oracle thing started coming back. There you go. So this is actually the information I'm getting from Oracle. Fusion CRM there gets a list of opportunities and the opportunity IDs, and the scenario was the CRM needs to be connected to Oracle database, which contains the delivery status of that, and I wrote a script for it. So I can make one call to my scripting service, which turns around and fetches information out of multiple data sources and brings back and tells me whether things are delivered or they are in transit, pending, whatnot. Just a quick example to teach you guys understand that This is ways of creating composite APIs, orchestrated APIs, without doing too much work here, right? Just to wrap up here, some of the things that you might need from a DevOps perspective. Once you have completed development on all of these things, you can package all of this stuff up. So you can move them from dev to QA to production there, as well as if you need to put some limits on, throttle your APIs to make sure nobody abuses your system. We have great ways of limiting access to your APIs. So you can say, this person gets access to pretty much everything there, or you can say each user gets access to this particular table X number of times a minute. You can even go down to the verb level to say you can read 10,000 times a minute, but you can insert only 10 records a minute or something like that. So great ways of extending your limits and forcing access on this stuff. All of these are tracked as well in case you need to go there. Some of our customers have IT environments where multiple departments share costs for the service there, so they need to keep track of this, or for compliance reasons, HIPAA, FDIC, SOX kind of things. They need to know what kind of API calls are coming in, who's making those calls, that kind of thing. We use the Elk stack for it, Elasticsearch, Log/Kibana, and create great looking charts. Every single call is tracked, so you can kind of keep track of how many API calls are being made and who's making these calls and what services are being used and such. I just thought I would make some fancy charts here, but the truth of it is every single element of your data is tracked optionally, right? So everything is being sent over to Elasticsearch, so you can make whatever kind of tracking dashboards that you need to do. So keep track of the APIs and then charge or use them appropriately. So just to kind of wrap it all up, what DreamFactory offers is a LAMP stack that can automatically create REST APIs for you. This is a package that can pretty much be installed anywhere. It's a pretty LAMP stack, right? So Windows, Linux, or on your Mac, do this right here, or on a Docker container as well. Connect to pretty much any data source out there to create these REST APIs, and then customize these APIs to do pretty much anything that you want to do. Okay? That's what DreamFactory does. Any questions? Anything that you guys expected? And there is a free trial as well, before I forget about that. So if you go to dreamfactory.com, there is a try it free that can get you guys a trial to help you see what DreamFactory is about. I think it's about 30 days or something like that. You can try it out for. Right? Thank you for your time.